All right, everybody, welcome back to the Street Parking Podcast. Today's episode is another episode with one of our members that is here to do one of the 2023 vault workouts with us. At the time of this recording, she's already done her workout, but we can't say what it is, okay? Because it'll come out in a few days after this podcast. But Erin got to do the workout this week with DH, and it's a super fun one. I can't wait to do it. And I can't wait for you guys to get to know Erin a little bit better. Erin, two reasons. Erin is a newer member compared to a lot of the members that we've brought here, so a little bit of a different perspective. Erin considers herself to be somebody that didn't find a passion or a love for fitness until a little bit later in her life. And also, Erin is a member of the Street Parking Zoom group, which is a group of members that get together and they do the workouts over Zoom, which I want to hear about and I think is super cool. So lots of fun stuff to talk to Erin about. And here we are. So first of all, without giving away what the workout was, how was it?
I was mostly in my own head. The workout itself was great. I just had a lot of nerves that were holding me back. So if I'm doing this at home, and I'll probably do it again, I'm sure it will be more fun when I'm less nervous.
See, everybody always I get a lot of comments on my stuff sometimes I wish I had a camera following me around all the time. It's like, do you though? Do you? Because you never know when you're going to roll into the office and we're taking photos today. And you're like, great. I'm not prepared for this. So
yeah, no, for me, the discomfort was really in being watched and being filmed, and it was good to push myself in that way.
Yes.
But definitely not comfortable.
Okay, so cool. Workout's done and over. You've actually been here for 2 days now. And how has it been just visiting HQ and getting to know the other people that are in your group?
Oh, it's really fun. I do Zoom with people, but the in-person is great. It's also a little bit intimidating to be that person who's coming to fitness later in life and it's selective hearing, but everybody seems oh yeah, I've been into CrossFit for 15 years and I'm like, okay, yeah, okay.
You guys did a pretty epic workout in our little cul-de-sac yesterday too. That was aggressive.
It was
there were
aggressive.
20 of you guys going just on the sleds and the D-balls and everything.
And it was all movements that I don't do.
Ah, that's so fun though.
Yeah, that was fun.
And then you brought a friend here with you this week as well. What's her name?
Amy Marie.
That's right, Amy.
She's the one that told me about street parking. She mentioned it in passing. I think probably the first day we knew each other. And I went and checked it out and I was like, I'll try it out. And then we were still getting to know each other and I was like, I love this thing.
Ah, that's awesome. Okay, so you joined in September of 2021, so not even 2 years ago, a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And you're a 9th grade teacher.
Yes.
English teacher.
Yes.
What were you, so one of the things that you told us before you came when you were submitting to participate in this and in the interactions that we've had is that you're somebody who found fitness later in life. And then even with that, always got really easily bored or injured or just really struggled to find consistency with anything. So
yeah.
First of all, what drew you to start wanting to exercise at all? And then what are some of the things that you've tried that just didn't really stick and work for you?
Well, I really started, I exercised on and off through college, mostly to try to look good. And
that's normal.
Then around, I think it was around 25 or 26, I had a 3-year-old and I hadn't really lost the baby weight and was uncomfortable in my own body. And my husband started running. And so I was like, part of getting married young and trying to make things last is finding things to do together. So we didn't end up running together, but I took up running with him, did my first couch to 5K. And then I was running on and off for years. But it would be I would do a 5K and then I would stop for a while and then I'd sign up for another one and then I stopped for a while, and ended up with I did a marathon.
Oh wow!
Which was fun. I hated the race, loved the training. So I had a good group of people that I would train with, and for me that was a massive break in the day because my kids were little.
You have 2 kids who are now, how old are they?
I have a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old.
Okay, that's right.
So this was when they were 3 and 7. And so the guilt-free of going out for 4 hours on a Saturday morning and just being with other women and talking. I'm one of weird people that runs faster when I'm talking. But that was like, it was feeding my emotional needs. And then I was, getting to move also, but that it was really not a sustainable thing. So like the 6 months of training was great. But I wasn't doing anything else. Like I didn't find the energy to strength train, and I knew it was off balance. So then I didn't want to continue doing long distance running.
Okay.
After that we moved. So we're military. We've moved a lot. It's like I have these little segments in my life, and
which can make it hard to find consistency too, is that if you're always changing, like especially if you're attached to a certain running group and then you move, well, that group's gone. Or if you're attached to a certain gym or facility and then you move, well, that community's gone.
Yeah,
that's hard.
Yeah, so then I started doing more on my own. My husband gave me the Starting Strength,
the book. Okay, nice.
Which is got the most hilarious first line of any book ever. I think it's something like physical strength is the most important thing in life, and that is true whether or not you believe it.
Well, the author of that, Mark Rippetoe, I feel like he's full of one-liners.
Yeah.
So I have that book. I didn't remember that that's the first line, but that doesn't surprise me.
We quote it in our family, so it's. But I did that for a while. Like I read all about all the form stuff, and I started doing a 5x5 program. And that was pretty, like,
Were you doing that at like a gym, or where were you?
Yeah, at the base gym.
Okay.
So I would take my kids and park them out on the gym, or like on the bench outside, and have to like talk myself out of mom guilt.
Right.
It's like, okay, you go to their gymnastics, you go to their soccer, and you spend a lot of time sitting watching them. They can have 30 minutes where they just sit.
Yes.
And you can get your workout
That's awesome.
in. And I really liked like the initial, whenever you start a strength program and you got like gains. It's just like, of course. You feel so great. But then I plateaued, and I needed more help with that. I was really off balance. Like I could squat more than I could deadlift, which is not right. And then there was like an imbalance. There wasn't any rowing, I don't think, in that program. So like, I think I injured my shoulder because I like built like great chest muscles, and then everything was pulling forward.
Yeah, you weren't strengthening like the upper back as much.
And so that put me out for a good long time. Like I think it was almost 2 years before I got full recovery. And part of it, I just didn't know how to go get help. I didn't know what to do for PT and stuff. I tried to get help, but it took me a while.
Okay.
During that time, we like got super into kettlebells for a while. There's, I forget, Pavel. Yep. So we got like Simple and Sinister, and we were doing kettlebells. We got all kettlebells for Christmas one year, because that's what I do. I ask for fitness equipment that the rest of the family ends up using.
And so it sounds like your husband was running. You guys weren't running together, but you were both into running for a while. And then when you were doing the Starting Strength stuff, was he also doing, like, do you go through these phases together, not together? Like you're kind of doing them on your own, but you're in the same phase?
Sort of, yeah. So like, by the time I was training for a marathon, he had stopped running. Okay. We had the dog that liked to run, but he had stopped.
Okay.
And he had gotten more into the strength stuff. We had a TRX, so he did like a couple of TRX programs, and then he had started Starting Strength first, and then put me onto it. We did the kettlebells together, like for Christmas one year. Our kids were going on a trip with the grandparents, so we bought each other like a kettlebell training session for our staycation. Cool. So I've tried to do stuff together, but we don't work out together because he's
that's kind of what I meant.
Motivator for me. But yeah, just to have something to do in common. And like after 5x5 wasn't working for me, I went to 5-3-1, and that way we could be like, oh, like this is my 3 week, and or this was my 1 rep max, and this is how much percentage I
think that's kind of cool. I think that this is like a good thing to talk about. Then you guys were doing the same stuff, but not together. Yeah. Because I mean, a lot of people, they're like, oh yeah, I love training with my spouse. And then there's the other side of people like, I hate it. Like I don't want him to talk to me. Or him or her, or whatever. I don't want them to coach me. I don't want them to motivate me. Like they irritate me, or it can be depending on the couple, like it can be a weird dynamic. But I like how you guys would be doing the same stuff, so you could still talk about it. Yeah. But when you're actually doing it, it was separate. So you found what worked for you. That's cool.
Yeah, we were mostly separate. We would have like Sunday family day. So when we lived in Stuttgart, Germany, we'd all go to the gym together and do like whatever our usually deadlifts or whatever we needed that gym equipment for. or we'd do sprints, like it could be Sunday sprint day.
Oh man, okay.
Followed by the library, because that's a big part of our family too.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was nice to have like one day of connection, and our kids would do whatever, run around and make up their own programs. My daughter was always creating obstacle courses with whatever equipment they had at the gym.
With the kettlebell stuff or the starting strength, you mentioned the starting strength stuff. The reason that you stopped doing it is because you were injured. Mm-hmm. What happened with the kettlebell or the 5-3-1 stuff? Why did you kind of fall off from that?
I would just get bored or not find
I could definitely see how the 5-3-1 could get boring, because it's the same over
really
and over and over
boring.
again. Yes.
During the pandemic, I was still doing something like 5-3-1, but I was getting personal programming from someone, and then we would have video calls every other week so that she could just check in on my form. And it ended up being like, oh yeah, your form's good.
Right.
I was
At
like, what is the purpose of this? So I took the opportunity when we moved to Tampa in 2021 to like break ties with that. I didn't want to continue to pay that much for.
Yeah.
I was like, I have a year's worth of programs. I can just run through it again. And that's what I was doing when my friend told me about street parking.
Amy.
And I was like, yeah, Amy told me about street parking. And I was like, I'll check it out. I honestly had never heard of it before. She's also a member of a CrossFit box, and I knew I didn't want to spend that much money because I don't spend money on myself. And so I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And I was like Googling like street parking Tampa and not finding anything.
And you're like, they don't have any locations here.
I don't understand what this is. And so I think I tried like street parking fitness or something. And then it popped out. I was like, oh, it's totally online. So I think I signed up that night, and I took a weekend to read all the intro material, because that's how I am.
That's
I will
great.
Like, go through and read.
Most people don't read any
everything.
of it at all. So we appreciate that. Thank you, Erin.
And started Monday, and like from September through December, I would get, it depended, like I would do like 2 workouts a week or 3 workouts a week, and I'd take a couple weeks off, and then I'd get back into it. And during that time, I started listening to the podcast, which is a lot of the intro material, but it's good to have double exposure.
Oh, for sure.
And audio really works for me. So I'm pretty sure what happened is mid-December, I was looking ahead, like, what do I want my New Year's resolutions to be? And I was really plugging into the consistency is key message, and then the consistency before intensity. And I was like, okay, we're going to go for consistency. And I was like, if you look back at my logbook, it's like December 22nd or something. All of a sudden you start seeing 5 or 4 workouts a week to begin with. And that was what I was going for. I was like, 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off. And then in February of that year, towards the middle of February, I found out about the Zoom group, which I didn't know was a thing. I think it was still pretty new, but I wasn't one of the OGs. And I was like, well, I'll check that out. And the first week I did like one of every class time that there was that I could fit.
Well, okay, so I don't even know how this, to be honest, I don't even know how this group works. So how does it work? There are class times. What does that mean? Like, how many times during the day are available for people? Because everyone, like not everyone, but a lot of people listening to this are also going to be like, I didn't know this was a thing, and they're going to need the info here. So
yeah, so I have to give a shout out to Agnieszka, who runs the group, because this is
Thank you for saying her name, because I've seen her name and I'm just like, I don't even know how to pronounce this. So
like, this is her baby. It depends if she has enough people to form a crew, she'll do it. I think there's usually between like 8 and 12 different times that we can work out
in the day. She's not on there for every single one, is she?
No, she doesn't do.
I was going to say.
She created the Zoom logins.
Okay.
And so there's like, you can either log in with an on the hour group or an on the half an hour group.
Wow.
And then you log in. We tend to warm up and chat together for 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the crew. And then everybody does whatever workout they want to do.
Oh, so you're not even all necessarily doing the same thing. It's literally just to feel like other people are in the room with you.
Yep. We get people who will get on and stretch.
Because that's what we do.
Yeah.
You guys all did the same workout yesterday, but when our staff comes to our house to work out, sometimes there'll be 5 people in there doing 5 different workouts.
Yeah. And it's fun. We do try like to do the vault together, or, sometimes there's a special workout that we want to do together. And we'll, try to do that. But if you don't want to, there's still no pressure to like.
Yeah, like I'm here, I'm going to do Tuesday shift while you guys do that or whatever.
Yeah, like the Saturday and Sunday groups often have an endurance focus, because that's the longer
Right.
But I don't do endurance on the weekend. I just don't do endurance.
You're like, I've had enough of that. Okay. Okay. So you would join one of the Zoom groups, and once you found it, like 4 or 5 times a week?
Yeah. So I started immediately, like pretty much doing 5 times. Like I went from 4 times a week on my own to 5 times a week with the Zoom group, because I was just so pumped to be with people. And I've settled in with like the 6 a.m. Eastern time group, which is Carrot Crew.
How did it get its name, Carrot Crew?
I don't know. Agnesha comes up with, they're all food names.
And every crew has their own food.
Every crew has their own food. I gravitate towards the ones that sound healthier, but there's like there's like Taffy Crew and Twizzler Crew, and I was like, I don't know if I can get on board with that. But you know, it's really because there's limited colors in the Facebook groups.
I see.
And so she picks
She has
something
to name them
with the color.
Okay.
So Carrot Crew worked for me for a really long time. And then I wanted to add in swimming in the morning. So I was swimming, and I've switched to Peanut Crew, which is like little teeny tiny crew, and they're awesome. Until January, when I started teaching, and then I had to drop the swimming. I just didn't have the energy.
And so you're back
for
to
it.
the Carrot
Now I'm
Crew.
back with my carrots.
The peanuts lost you.
But they're growing. They're now my backup plan. So like in one of your podcasts, you talked about having a backup plan, and that's when I was working out at 4:30 in the afternoon. I was like, there's no backup. If it doesn't happen, it's not happening.
Right.
At this point in the
day.
day.
That is tough.
It's like, I don't work out at night.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm like shut down, like my windows start closing out, my browsers slow down
yes.
around 7:30.
The battery is dead.
So having Carrot Crew now, if I miss a morning workout, I jump back in with Peanut, and it's really fun. But we have people who like bounce around because they're shift workers or their schedule's unpredictable. And that works out well. You just get to know a little bit about different people in the crew.
On average, how many people are in like that Carrot Crew group on any given day?
It depends on the season. Some are slower. It's like about 5 or 6 usually in the morning.
And is it the same 5 or 6 people, or does it rotate quite a bit?
The Carrot Crew is really consistent.
Okay.
Peanut Crew is more rotational.
Okay.
I think because of the time of day it is.
Yeah.
And there are like, I think the Alfalfa Crew is really like strong and regular, and the Twizzler Crew is another one. The Twizzler Crew is the one with the big personalities. So they're more of a 15-minute warm-up group. Carrots are, we need to get in, we need to get it done. So like 6:10 on the dot.
Have you ever logged in and there's been nobody showed up?
Only once or twice. Agnieszka works really hard to make sure that doesn't happen.
Wow.
So like we don't keep the crew if there's not enough people signing up for it on a daily basis. And there have been times though, like with a smaller crew, like I was the one who pushed for Peanuts when I changed my schedule, and it will be like, well, I'm not working out today, or I had to work out earlier, but I'll cut on and cheer you on. And so like somebody will get on and just,
even if they're just like cooking dinner or something.
Yeah. And it works, but it's never bothered me because I do think it's important to maintain that muscle of being able to work out alone.
Right.
So during the week, I usually work out with a crew. During the weekend, I usually work out alone.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because we've said that a lot. Because a lot of what we hear from people who will say, "Well, I could never do street parking because I could never work out alone." It would be easy for us to say, like, "Well, you could just join the Zoom group," which you could. Mm-hmm. But also, one of the things that we say is like, if your consistency is reliant on someone else, then it's not really your consistency yet.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you need to be able to be accountable to yourself and only yourself, because anytime that you have to rely on somebody else, that somebody else could always like go away, whether it's that person, if you're at a gym, that person could move, or if it's at a gym, that gym could close down, or you could move, or whatever. So learning, like you said, like practicing that muscle of being self-motivated is really important, and I think is one of the things that is really strengthened with people who are used to having somebody else to rely on, when they do find, for a period of time at least, that they did it alone, how much stronger and more consistent they are than they thought they could be.
And the crew is actually still really help with that, because you start to get a little FOMO, because we have like little Facebook chats.
Yeah.
And you see what everybody else is posting about it, and you're like, oh, I missed it, or like, I'm going to do it later. And if I miss like logging in, but I'm going to work out later in the day, I'll still get on and post what I did. And then, you know, you get your likes and feel good, and people are tracking with you.
That's good.
So it's also helped me with intensity. So when I first started, you know, I was not pushing myself very hard, which was fine, consistency first. But I had started the Zoom group saying I was going to do the beginning half of the vault 25 all shift. I was just going to go all shift. Didn't want to try to push beyond that. Within 2 weeks of joining the Zoom crew, I was like, okay, I got to start trying some things.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I got to buy a sandbag. Okay, I got to buy a box. Not that you have to buy any of those things, but watching other people do it made me want to put the resources into it. But
so now you work out completely. When you first started street parking, were you already working out at home, or where have you?
Yeah, I'd been working out at home during the pandemic. We bulked up our gym a little bit. We already had a home gym because my kid was doing Olympic weightlifting.
Oh, nice.
So we were already like built a platform, had some barbells and some weights. We had kettlebell collection from Christmases, like from
the Pavel era.
Yeah. So yeah, but I've expanded little pieces here and there. So we got a pull-up bar. I sold a bunch of stuff on Facebook Marketplace and bought a used rower, which everyone in my family now uses. Even though my husband was like super skeptical that I needed a rower, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to talk to you or to have you chat about a little bit is this. You started later in life, but also you identify as somebody who feels like, or used to feel at least, clumsy or not super coordinated or kind of that feeling, which I think is very common, by the way, of people like, oh, I couldn't do that. Like, I'm not, they look at somebody doing box jumps and they're just like, no. Or like even like a toes to bar or anything, and they're just like, I'm just not coordinated enough for this. Like, I'm gonna feel awkward, I'm gonna look awkward, I'm gonna feel awkward, and that was kind of you, right?
Yeah, and still is. I mean, I didn't sleep last night. I was so nervous about doing this vault. I felt like I was gonna vomit all morning. But what I really think is important for people to know is you don't have to be sporty to be fit. Like, I'm not sporty. Please don't throw a ball and expect me to catch it. Please don't ask me to throw a ball to a target. That's not going to work. I can't put one up in the air to a ceiling. That's okay. But yeah, that kind of thing. So I tried a lot of sports as a kid because that's what you do. And I just wasn't good at them. I always felt like I was letting somebody else down. And even like when I was doing my running stage, I would love the training runs. And then I'd get into a race, and the only thing I could think was like, you suck, you suck, you suck. Oh. So it is really mental for me, but it's important to be healthy. And I have kids. I want them to be healthy too. And so that's part of like I want a role model for them. And I don't want my daughter to grow up with the message that like thin is what you're aiming for. It's like strong. It's about how you feel. It's about the functionality of your body. And also like I don't get as sick when I'm fit.
Yeah, of course.
And actually I'm more sporty now than when I was not fit. Like, it's been a couple years, but after exercising, after being a runner, after doing weight training, I went skiing, and I hadn't gone skiing in 10 years. And I was like, skiing is easier.
Wow.
Like, I'm not as scared. I feel more adaptable. Anything I do now feels easier. Like, I've done some adult soccer games.
Wow.
And while I still have a lot of insecurity about it, just that baseline of fitness actually has made me more coordinated.
And more confident.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely something that can be developed. But I think the other thing that I like about your message is you don't have to be great at something for it to be beneficial or for it to be enjoyable.
Right.
And I think that you're sending that message to your kids too, because if you avoided some of the movements or street parking or this type of training in general because you're not like the best at it, that message is like, oh, well, you should only do something if you're good at it. If you're not good at it, then you shouldn't do it. And that could be like, hey, like, maybe you're not a great soccer player, but you just really love to play. Like, you should go
Right.
play then. You should go do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's actually interesting, and you're probably not going to believe me, but I feel that I am the same way that you are with training versus competing. Mm-hmm. I competed in CrossFit, and I was way better in the gym. And when I would compete, not at the smaller level, but once we would get like to the games, I would just allow myself to get so worked up and so nervous that my adrenaline was too high, and it was like too much. Yeah. And I would be doing it and I'd be like, I hate this so much. But in the gym, I love it. And I mean, I even get that way still sometimes when we film the vault workouts and stuff. I get like super nervous and everything, and it's like, what is this? And but day to day, I just love it. But I feel that I'm the same way, because I didn't grow up playing sports either. I did dance and stuff like that, so I am coordinated. But same thing, like if Julian wants to play basketball, or he's like tried to get me to go play like indoor soccer, and I've never really played before, like I get embarrassed. I'm like, I suck at this. Like everybody else is more athletic and with a ball or things like that than I am.
It's so funny. Like I keep thinking like, oh, I've finally conquered this. Mm-hmm. No, it just resurfaces. And like all of a sudden you're 12 years old again. And like, all this insecurities come flooding back. But that's why I have to keep challenging myself. Like all this, like whole last week I was like, why did I sign up for this? Why did I do that? Like I knew it would be uncomfortable, and I forgot how uncomfortable it would be because I haven't pushed myself in that way. Right. Like I've tried new things. I did jujitsu for a while, which was another deeply uncomfortable thing. I picked up swimming, which I had never done before. Again, very uncomfortable.
I'm a terrible swimmer. Very uncomfortable.
But I want to keep doing that stuff because it's good for my body and really good for my brain. To keep being in a learner mindset. And then even just being a teacher. I think teachers forget what it's like to be a learner or to be uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Like I have my kids right now are doing Romeo and Juliet projects, and some of them have looked at me and they said, I'll just take a 0. I don't want to present.
Wow.
And that I need to be able to look at them and be like, look, if I can do it, you can do it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's so important. Actually, in December, I did this ice bath thing for a month, and I did it every single day. The first thing when I woke up, I would make myself get in this freezing cold ice bath, and it wasn't for any of the like recovery benefits or anything like that. It was because I hated it so much, and I knew I wasn't going to want to do it, and I was so uncomfortable that I wanted to put myself in the shoes of a street parking member who hates working out. Yeah. And they know they want to develop this habit, but it's so hard for them. And every night they're going to bed being like, I don't want to do it in the morning. Or when their alarm goes off in the morning, they're thinking like, that's the last thing I want to do. That's how the ice was for me. So I wanted to put myself back in that position of remembering what that feels like, and remembering that like 2 weeks in, it was just, I still hated it, but it was a habit at that point. And I actually am still doing it to this day. And now I really look forward to it and like it. But it's that journey of, that's what a lot of our members go through when they join and they're trying to find consistency with fitness. So it was important for me, same thing like what you're saying with your students, to put myself and remember what that feels like.
Yeah, it's too easy to get comfortable and then you lose perspective. So it just, I will continue to challenge myself, I think, for as long as I live. I hope to. Yes. At any rate.
I think it's, when you notice that you don't want to do something, it's probably something you should go do. And maybe not, you don't do it forever. And maybe it's like, like, oh, I hate swimming. Like, for example, I was really bad. I never really learned how to swim other than like swim around so I didn't drown. Like that was my level of swimming. But when I was competing, the swimming became a thing. And it was like, okay, well, I guess I have to learn how to actually like swim properly with the breathing, the head to the side. And I was so bad at it, and it was so uncomfortable. And I don't do it now, but I did do it. And so I was like, okay, I overcame that like fear and hatred of swimming, at least for a short period of time. And I encourage people to like lean into that stuff when they recognize that they're avoiding something like that.
But I think also like you find the tools that are going to help you. Like you don't have to go into it like, I'm going to do this, with
I'm gonna
no
be
help,
an
no
Ironman
assistance.
Swimmer. Yeah.
Like, so I brought my friend Amy with me because she's like my emotional support person for this, for this weekend. Or, the Zoom group has been, when I wanted to increase my intensity and like continue to push that boundary of what's comfortable, just having someone to chase, they don't even know. Like, but I need my little bunny that's going over there much faster. I'm like, okay, I can go faster. Or they're using 25s. I'm on my 20s. I can pick up some 25s and do this. And that just, it's a tool that I use to help me get to my goals.
That's awesome. Right now you're a 1 workout a day person, but then you'll either go for like a mile jog or run or ruck. Is that right?
Well, sometimes I walk also, but my dog I do a daily mile. I have been since December.
That's awesome.
2021.
Okay.
So I haven't missed a day. That's my like bare minimum of movement per day. And I set the bar really low intentionally because it was COVID times. And I was like, even if I get COVID, I can like walk around my living room.
See, that's what I tried to tell Julian when he had COVID. He wouldn't even, I was like, you got to go. You need air from outside of this house.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like and I've been able to maintain that. We moved across states during that time. We got evacuated for Hurricane Ian during that time.
Oh, that's right. You did post about that.
Yeah. So like those are, and doing it on vacations also. It's just to become a habit. And I like, people keep asking me, are you going to like raise the bar? Are you going to like do 2 miles? And I was like, no. You
could be like, today I might do 2 miles. Like maybe I feel like
it's often more than 1 mile, but it's like it's just the minimum requirement is that mile. And there have been times like when I was traveling and I got home at 9:00 at night and I was like, oh no, I didn't do my mile. I went out in my flip flops in my pajamas.
That's so funny because I've been trying to walk more lately too. And that's almost what happens to me pretty much every day. Luckily, I'll just be like, okay, I'll take the dog for a walk really quick. And it's like 10:00 at night and I'm just like freezing because it gets cold here in the winter. So I totally get it. But it's been a habit that I've been trying to develop. So do you usually do the walk separate from the workout or is it in the same session or does it just vary?
Since I started teaching, so I wasn't teaching when I applied to come here.
Oh, okay. So this is super new. I didn't know it was that new.
Yeah, I started teaching in January.
Okay.
And the day after I accepted the position was the day I got contacted to be part of the vault.
Wow. Okay.
And I had to defer. I was supposed to be in group 3, I think, and I was like, is there any other days? And this happened to fall in my spring break.
Great.
But like teaching is kind of kicking my butt right now.
I mean, it's all so new and the schedule's new and everything. What were you doing before?
I was teaching online, but I was working like from home, 15 hours a week.
Right. Okay.
Super laid back,
super
low
relaxed.
Stress.
Yeah.
And so that's why I could swim and then,
yes,
run a mile and then do my workout and, do everything. But when the intensity has dialed up in my work life, I've had to dial back the intensity in other areas because I am now working way more than 40 hours a week because teachers do, and it's emotionally taxing.
Oh yeah, I can't even imagine.
And so, yeah, everything is just, that's one of the reasons I was so nervous this week. I was like, when I applied, I was rocking it. And now there are so many days where I'm like, okay, shift, or we're going to do like, I don't do a lot of the more than nothing workouts, but I will sometimes do shift with a more than nothing
attitude.
Mindset.
Yes.
Like, okay, I'm just going to start.
But you've kept consistency with this new job.
Yes. I've been able to maintain like 5 days a week, which is what I really wanted to do. And if I have to do more than nothing, if I have to do, shift, there's nothing wrong with shift. It feels you were past that
in your mind. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that gets discouraging.
Right.
And yet I have to continue to say, but I'm still working out 5 days a week. I'm going to start like right before spring break. I started posting my WODs on my whiteboard because I have a couple guys in my class who will talk about it with me.
That's cool.
I'm the theater kid teacher. Usually I sing to my kids, I joke with them. I've got all the literary references, but these are the guys who are never going to pick up on that. So I'm like, okay, I got to find another way to connect with you.
Wow.
And so they'll come in and they'll ask me about my workouts. Like that 95 deadlift, is that how many pounds? I'm like, no, not please. That was reps.
That's That's so cool. That's awesome that you are using that as a way to connect to some of the kids that wouldn't get the rest of your personality,
right?
Potentially. And I think it's great for people to hear that. Actually, I'm grateful that you had this shift so that we could talk about it, because that's just how life works. Like, your kids are little and then they're not little, but now they've got all these practices, and then then you move, or this job changes, or this person in your family becomes sick and they need your help. Like, that's just how life works.
Yeah.
And so I think what messes people up is they find consistency in one season of life and they don't know how to transfer that when something changes. They think, well, I can't do it anymore because I'm used to, or I need to do the swimming and the running and the workout. And it's like, well, you enjoy doing the swimming and the running and the workout, but that's just not going to fit right now. So right now, what's going to fit? And I think you're figuring that out. And I think once you have been doing your new schedule for a while, you'll find your rhythm and everything. It just takes some time, you know?
Yeah.
It's like having a new baby.
It takes time. Starting in the middle of a school year is never the ideal situation for any teacher. So, you know, I'm very happy mentally with where I am at. Emotionally, it always is a little bit of a bigger task to make peace with it.
I mean, you told us before we started, and I mean, I think it's just known about you. You're an emotional person. I feel like I'm an emotional person. How does fitness help with that, or how does that play a role? For me, it's like it's an outlet. Like, I've been known, it doesn't happen often, but I've cried in a workout where it's like I've definitely been like holding something in, and I go out to the garage and I work out by myself, and it's almost like I'm working through something while I'm like, you know, or music plays a big part, like the music that I choose, like if I'm pissed about something, or, you know, or if I'm like allowing myself to get down about something and then I go and I do a really hard workout, it reminds me like, no, you're stronger than you think. Like, do you find yourself, I don't know that everybody does that.
Like, I'm such a morning person and I prefer to work out in the morning. But for me, it's part of it is just doing something that gives me confidence, like first thing in the morning, and something that is just for me to go and start the day with that. So like, I feel like I've already accomplished something when I start the day, and then, you know, it goes more smoothly than that. When I was trying to work out in the afternoons after school, it just wasn't working with my rhythm. I did have one great Friday where I came home and I was like, I don't want to work out. I'm just not going to do it. And then I looked at the shift and it was like 1 minute of movement, which I dread because I'm always like, am I going to do jumping jacks? Am I going to do toe taps? I get bored, and I like, if it's 5 rounds, then I do something different every round. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to dance.
Oh.
And I put on my like corny 90s disco music.
That's awesome.
And just danced for every minute. And it was like, this is what I needed. It was total release.
That's awesome.
And, you know, I got my heart rate up, certainly. But definitely got some weird looks from the neighbors.
Do you do mostly the main workout, or do you do the extra programs ever?
So mostly the main workout. I try to do a strength something once a week. And then my plan for this summer, what I did last summer was row stamina. And then
I'm still trying to make my way out of that thing.
Well, I did not finish it.
I'm like, I made it. I'm at week 12 now. Like, I'm so close. I'm like 20 weeks in, but I'm at week 12.
I got to like the 25-minute rows and I was like, I really hate rowing.
I think that's where Caitlin's at this point.
I don't like anything that's in one spot. Like, if I ever do endurance, it's going to be running outside, because like treadmills, rowers, I don't have a bike, but like that just makes me.
See, I just like zone out. It's like a meditation, and it actually goes by way faster than I would expect. Okay, so but which extra programs do you dive into sometimes?
So I like the strength stuff.
Okay.
I've done most of dumbbell strength session.
Okay,
the
nice.
first one. I did the kettlebell strength when it came out because I was like, yay, kettlebells, except for the very last one, which I really felt like I needed 2 kettlebells for. So I'm sitting there at 11 and like, doing number 12 with 1 kettlebell doesn't look as fun.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I'll be fine with that. And then I just started the Power 30. I want my barbell badge. I'm very badge motivated.
How deep into it are you? How many do you have?
I think I'm on like 8.
Okay.
So it's been off and on depending on the weekend.
Your
but
new
I've
schedule,
been prioritizing. I used to do vaults on Mondays. when they were programmed. Now I make sure they are done on Saturday or Sunday, just in case the week gets
a little haywire.
Like the vault is like my minimum. It's also my that's my full send.
Yes,
day.
and that's common. Like we've heard that a lot from people on these episodes.
So yeah, I usually do vault on Saturday or Sunday, and then the next day will be like active recovery, so that I get something in there.
Okay.
I rely more on active recovery for those weeks where my energy is down, but I want that consistent, like what I consider a placeholder workout. So just maintain the habit.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And that's really because your issue before was that you were doing programs, which are great programs, like the kettlebell stuff from Pavel is great, and starting strength is great, and 531 is great, and the couch to 5K and the running stuff. It's all, but the problem is it's very one-dimensional and it can get very boring. And our goal with the extra programs is to allow you to have like, well, right now I want to focus on running, so you do that for a while, and then the kettlebell program looks kind of cool, so you do that for a while, but it's all within the same community and it's all within street parking, and then the daily workouts are varied and different all the time. So the goal for those is not to make people feel like they need to be doing all of it, but just like, hey, this is all here for when you need it.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I use it. So like I never used to work out when I was on vacation, but we went to Colorado for Christmas, and it was fun. I have 3 brothers-in-law. I made each of them do a different street parking workout.
Oh, fun.
With me. So we did a lot of, I think we did some of the kettlebell series because it was brand new, and that was what we had at that house. And then cool. I did some no equipment, and I laughed so hard. My brother-in-law was going to do a no equipment workout with me. I think it was maybe lunch stirs or something. And he comes out. He's like, oh, I just ate lunch. Are you going to eat, or should we go? And I was like, you ate lunch first? He's like, yeah, it'll be fine. I was like, okay, let's go do the workout. I smoked him. It was great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I know better. But he didn't think it was going to be hard because there was no weights on it.
Right. It's like,
that was not
my sister-in-law, no weight, no problem.
Yeah.
Walk in the park.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, you mentioned that your focus next will be, it seems like you're focused right now on figuring out your flow with this new schedule and everything. But once that's all dialed in, like really looking at now your relationship with food and alcohol, and you even mentioned TV. And I think it's cool that you told us that, because it's not realistic for somebody to come in and start, and within the first couple months their whole entire lifestyle is different and changed. Like even I still struggle with like, I stay up too late. And I've said this on the podcast so many times, and in so many challenges, I'm like, I'm a night person. And cause as a mom with little kids in the business, like it's the only time that I'm alone and I can just be like, do whatever I want to do. And so it's not a good habit, and it's something that I still struggle with. So I think it's cool that you mentioned like, hey, like I have found consistency with the workouts, and that more than nothing attitude has helped me a lot, but here are the things that I'm still working through.
Yeah, I'm still looking for the tools. So like I actually eat all the right good things. You know, I have a huge salad for lunch every day. Like usually breakfast is like 3 eggs and a piece of toast, or 3 eggs and a banana. My dinner is always going to be protein with a lot of vegetables on the side and some sort of carb. It's what I eat in addition to that.
Yeah.
That is bad. And like, it's not all bad either. Now, since I'm at school and I'm surrounded by junk food, it's been hard.
I bet.
Because there's like somebody
and it's
always
emotional.
Willing to give you,
like well, your job is very emotional.
Or chocolate. Usually when I get home, if I make it all the way home without eating something, my snacks are like, I'll fill a little muffin tin with pistachios, or I'll have a couple squares of dark chocolate. On the really bad days, I make myself popcorn. But it's like, and those are not processed, so they're not terrible, but they're also not necessary.
Right.
What I should be doing is that like meal 3 smoothie, but that takes effort.
Yeah.
And it's like, you get home and you're like, I could spend 5 minutes making a smoothie, or I could just grab this straight out of the pantry and eat now.
Right.
So I know what I need to do. It's just the actual doing it, and then reminding myself, like with my workouts. So the days when I want to skip a workout, I tell myself, if you skip today, it will be harder tomorrow. And so that's going to, I think, be the strategy I need to use with food. If you make the bad choice today, your choice tomorrow is harder. Whereas if you make the choice that you know is a choice that's going to feed you, going to fuel you, it will be easier tomorrow because you have these reinforcing, experiences that say, you know what, you feel a lot better after a smoothie than when you ate 3 cups of pistachios and chocolate.
What if you got the ingredients for the smoothie and already had them ready, just not blended up yet?
I could do that.
Pre-portioned out, so it's just boom, boom, boom. So you don't have to
Yeah. And just add the liquid and go.
Yeah. Try that when you get home. I can do that. Okay, let me know how it goes. But yeah, I think that's cool. And I think it's it sounds like you have a really good approach to not be well, what I'm going to go do is I'm going to go fix all 3 of those things. I'm going to fix the extra food and the alcohol and the TV, and I'm going to cold turkey all of it. And it's well, that's, that's probably not a good approach. Maybe pick one of those things. And let's say it's, I watch TV for 90 minutes a day. I'm not saying that's what you do, but if it's somebody else, it might be okay, we'll just cut it to an hour. Don't cut it all the way out because that's not going to be sustainable. You're going to end up just coming back to it. Drop it to an hour, give yourself a cutoff time. Okay, I can watch TV, but at 9 p.m. I got to turn it off or whatever it might be. And that's what I've been working on with the sleep is I used to go to bed at 12:30. I'm to 11 now, but I've had to work my way, and it's a work in progress, but it can't be I'm going to go from going to bed at 12:30 to going to bed at 9:30. That's just not realistic. Just the workouts, you got to build into it.
And the sleep is so reciprocal. The less sleep you get, the harder it is to make the right choices.
Yes,
I've been
especially
really
with
struggling
food and stuff. Yes.
with waking up at 1 a.m. and my mind just turns on and I can't get back to sleep. And that's been I'm going to bed at 8 just to try to get a good solid amount of sleep before that happens.
Because you wake up, yeah.
But it makes it hard to make the right food choices the next day. And so I'm trying to figure out what it is about the sleeping so that if I can get good sleep, I feel I'm better prepared to have intensity in my workouts and make the right decisions the next day. But when it's 6 a.m. and it's time to work out and I've been up for 4 hours, it's really rough.
Yes.
To
Well, I think some of those changes, I don't know what time of day you're watching TV or how often or how much alcohol you're drinking, but those things can really impact.
Yeah.
I know it. I don't drink, but I know that I'll have my screens on way too late at night, and I know that impacts how deep of sleep you get into and the quality of sleep and all that.
I'm pretty good about not doing it too late at night. Usually, I want to watch right after I get home from school to just unwind.
Just decompress and turn your brain off for a second.
And I'll watch a show while I'm making dinner.
Okay.
But after dinner, I tried not to.
That's good.
The alcohol, we'll see. I'm contemplating. I probably shouldn't say this on the podcast, but I'm going to say it anyways because maybe it'll be a good accountability measure. I am contemplating doing a dry 40. So I'll be 40 at the end of April.
Okay.
And taking that whole year to do no alcohol.
We have there's a group and I don't know if it's an official Alcoholics Anonymous group. I don't know that it is. I think that there's a Facebook group that's specifically about people who are trying to quit drinking that you could pop into.
Yeah.
It's pretty big, actually,
I'm
I
not
think.
a huge drinker. I drink a couple drinks on the weekend, but I still know it affects me. And then my husband's deploying at the end of June too.
Oh, okay.
And I just think the combination of alcohol and emotional management is a bad idea. Mm-hmm. I don't want to use it as a crutch. I don't want to self-medicate with alcohol.
I love that because I'm the same way, and that's where always the why. If you're just a social drinker or whatever when you go out with friends, and but if you're the type of person that notices whether it's food or alcohol or TV or the list goes on and on with what people use to self-medicate, you got to pay attention to the whys behind the choices that you're making.
Absolutely. And I know alcoholism runs in my family, so I'm always finally attuned to do I think this would be nice or do I feel like I need it? Because if I feel like I need this alcohol, it's time to dial back, take a break. We're not going to keep going down that path. I'm not going to go there.
That's awesome. And I think, I love that you said it out loud. I hope that you do try it because again, it's not saying that you need to quit drinking and never drink for the rest of your life, but it's like you said with working out by yourself sometimes, proving to yourself that you still can do that.
Right. And that you can be in a social situation and people don't care.
They don't care as much as you think. And if they do care that much, then I don't know, maybe you should evaluate your relationship with this person.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's been so great getting to chat with you. I think that you're going to be inspirational to so many people, because there are a lot of members that come in and maybe feel a little bit like, how do I even get started? Like, it's later in my life and these movements are new for me, and all of that, and just hearing your story will help them along the way. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can't wait to watch your workout. All right.